Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We have a special podcast. I am joined by Ed and Martin, who are a part of the team. Today, we want to talk about the Sports and Entertainment District, also known as Prop A and Prop B, which we're going to get into. But before we do that, let's talk about who's here to help us talk about it. Ed, would you mind introducing yourself for the listeners?
Yes. And, well, thank you for having me, Gilbert. I'm Ed Zapata, your 2025 chair of the board.
Martin Gutierrez, the SABOR's Government Affairs Director.
Excellent. Thank you both for joining us. And again, talking about Sports and Entertainment District and Prop A and Prop B. So people have a lot of questions. There's definitely a lot of viewpoints. I want to start off with, let's just get a little bit of background. Martin, can you tell us a little bit about how this project came to fruition in general?
Yeah, so I think everyone has kind of referred to this as Project Marvel, right? But really what you're going to see on the ballot is Prop A and B, which all Bexar County residents will get to vote on. So I think the backstory really is two organizations wanted to grow, the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo and the San Antonio Spurs. And they realized that the current facility, Freeman Coliseum, AT&T Center now, Frost Bank Center, was no longer going to be their home if they both wanted to grow. So they've got together, realized, we have two separate visions for what we want to do. And we've come now to Prop A and B. So the Rodeo basically has said, we want to have year-round events and make the Freeman Coliseum and Frost Bank Center our home. And the Spurs have found their new site for hopefully the future home of the San Antonio Spurs downtown. So what we have is two propositions on the ballot that will help fund a portion of this, right? The Rodeo is Prop A, which would allow a portion allow an increase in the hot tax, hotel occupancy tax, and a continuation of the tax you pay when you rent a car for a short term. Prop B would use a portion of the hotel occupancy tax and the motor vehicle rental tax to fund their arena downtown. So they're two different propositions, but they're codependent on one another. And basically, a venue tax is also referred to as a visitor's tax because no resident will pay this tax.
Okay.
And it basically fund this entertainment district.
So there's a lot in there, right?
Yes.
And so, and we're going to get through some of the more nuanced details, but that was a great overview. And I think some people, though, are going to ask Ed, the San Antonio Board of Realtors, how are they deciding to get involved? Like, what part of this initiative has the board decided that they should engage? Is it economic development? Is it, can you elaborate a little bit about the conversation we had at the board table that ultimately the decision was we want to support these two initiatives?
Right. And we think a lot about this and we talked a lot about it in the board just to emphasize that this is a real estate development, right? It's going to impact the city as a whole, not just downtown. It's going to have, like Martin said, new Spurs arena, mixed use development. It's going to expand our convention center, which keeps business coming here, conventions coming here, new hotel space, but also year round in the Rodeo as well. So I think it's important for realtors to understand that, the downtown housing is probably going to increase. Overall values will increase over time. There'll be new developments downtown. Also, as, time goes by, property values will start to increase as well. So I think those conversations were at the board, but we also talked about a lot of questions that residents would have. How could this help residents? How could this help our community? And there was a lot of discussion around the board regarding that. And we felt that as a whole, San Antonio will continue to develop. So we want to be out there and express our view that this is a positive for the city.
Excellent. Y'all are doing great at giving me a whole bunch of information. So now I think what I want to do is kind of take those pieces of that. How is it getting funded? I think the question everyone asks always, Martin, is, well, how is it getting funded? Why are my tax dollars going to go pay for that? And I know that's a complicated answer. So starting off with the first part, right? Are people going to have their tax dollars go to fund this project?
So zero cost to the San Antonio homeowners or renters. All of this will be paid through what we call as a visitor's tax. So if you're visiting here, just if you were to go visit any other city, New York, Houston, Los Angeles, you're likely paying an extra tax when you stay at a hotel or you rent a vehicle. It's a widely used phenomenon across the state and other cities, so no.
And it's not a new thing, right? We already pay a hotel occupancy tax on on hotel rooms and on Airbnbs. Like, we're already paying that.
Correct.
Okay.
We are just adding if voters approve 0.25% more, which is about $1.25 for every 100, and then when you go rent a car, continuing it through that. So correct. And no general fund revenue, which is the core of the city and county budget, which is used for streets, sidewalks, will be used for this arena, nor will your property taxes. And that is very clear from everyone that none of this, and that was a direction that the council and county had taken, was our residents do not want this, and we have this commitment to them.
I think it's also important to clear up some questions that we've had about that.
Yeah.
Can those funds be used in other areas like affordable housing or anything like that? Could you help clear that up as well?
Yeah, no. So a venue tax does not allow for anything but using it for a venue, which is basically a community center or an arena. So it's very specific in the municipal code that venue taxes are for venues and can only be used for venues. So yes, it's a clear distinction in the law of what it can be used for.
So just to be transparent, you're saying the current money we spend on the hotel occupancy tax, we can't use that to develop some property that's outside the city area, or it can't be used to pay for some new hotel or not hotel, but new apartment complex that's available for residents.
Correct. It's a venue tax for creation of venues for majority has been sports teams.
And now one of the things, and I'm not going to use the right words, Martin, and you have to excuse me, is what we've heard is other cities, big cities, right? So Houston, Austin, and Dallas have all used a special district or a special type of taxing entity in order to get this done, and we're actually who have not. Is that correct?
That is correct. So one of the tools that was passed at the legislature is a project finance zone, and what you can imagine this is they allow the ability, because when you pay a hotel occupancy tax, some of it goes to the state, some of it at the city. They basically have given us this tool that we can keep all of those hotel occupancy tax within the 3-mile radius downtown to stay in San Antonio, and it compounds over time, just as it would in your savings account. So this is a tool that we use. Fort Worth has used it to create the Dickies Arena. Houston is using it to expand their convention center, and so is Dallas. So other cities are doing the same. You drive up the road to Austin, they're knocking down their convention center. So it's a tool that all other cities have used, and we are now leveraging to basically capitalize on what visitors pay here when they come and visit and enjoy San Antonio.
So we're taking advantage of a new tool on top of other, things such as hotel occupancy tax in order to get this done. I think a lot of people, Ed, were kind of curious, or I shouldn't say a lot of people, but I think some people were wondering, like, well, what did the board hear as part of that plan in order to get us to that point of, like, you know what, this makes sense on why we want to support it. Using these tools means that it's not going to necessarily be an additional tax to our current residents.
Yeah, we had presentations come in to talk about what they're doing at the Frost Center to make that a year-round venue. The investments that they're making out there is quite impactful. So they already have revenue that they're doing right now, but they're limited because the Spurs are sharing in that space over there. Once they go year-round and Spurs have their own home, that's going to open up their ability to generate a lot more revenue in that area, which would bring more development as well. But also the other things that we talked about, we had some people come in and talk about what they're going to be doing to downtown. It's not only a convention space, it's not only adding hotel, but it's also going to be walkability. Future plans are to build a land bridge that would go over the freeway connecting the Alamo Dome and the Spurs and the convention center. So all that will be green space and walkability. So those are some of the concerns that we talked about as well.
And I think part of that presentation we got from the rodeo is there are many other cities, maybe not many, but there are quite a few cities that are effective at doing a rodeo year round, right? Like right now we have rodeo once a year. And actually during that year, Martin, you can elaborate, we're the only NBA team that they can no longer play in their facility during that time. But the ones that do get to do that, very effective. Like when the rodeo can absolutely be a year-round activity. Can you elaborate on that part?
Yeah, so the Spurs are the only NBA team that go away for 30 days, which is not a very competitive advantage when you look at, the athletes we have now, Wemby, et cetera, going forward. But also the rodeo is a huge economic driver. Look at our friends in Fort Worth with the Stockyards. Look at Las Vegas. They've all capitalized on year-round rodeo events. And the rodeo actually presented to us and talked about how many people from San Antonio go to Fort Worth or other cities just for the rodeo events because we do not provide year-round opportunities. So we're missing out on those individuals spending their money here rather than spending it elsewhere.
And reading from my paper because I don't know these things off the top of my head, right? The San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo already generates $300 million annually in economic impact. And y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. I seem to remember they said it might be 3 times that amount if they were able to do it year round. Does that sound right? Am I making that up?
It was about double the impact.
Double.
Yes.
Okay.
Double.
So
I think so.
twice as much. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is still, it's not like the Frost Center is necessarily going to be abandoned. It's going to be revitalized in a different way and be used way more than it already is.
Correct.
Okay. Now, I think some people are asking, though, about the Spurs and how what is their contribution to it, and will they be putting anything? Martin, do you mind sharing with us what essentially the Spurs have committed to in order to help make this a project that everyone is contributing to?
Yeah, so basically, this is a robust public-private partnership between the city, county, and Spurs, and all committed a certain amount of money. The Spurs specifically have committed $500 million to fund the construction of the arena plus any overruns. And what does that mean? Anything extra, right? We all know the current environment, expenses, et cetera, going up. They have agreed to cover anything $500 million or more. This is huge. The Spurs are committing basically a third of the cost to the arena to get it done, and it shows their commitment to San Antonio and wanting to make this project happen. Not only that, they've also guaranteed a certain amount of mixed-use development. So $500 million has been guaranteed during the phase 1, which is during the construction of the arena. And what they have told us is this has to happen no matter what. Whether there's a pandemic, whether there's a recession, $500 million has to be developed. And then the rest, which is about $900 million, will be developed as the downtown sports entertainment district gets built out. They've also committed $75 million in a community benefits agreement, which future councils will get to decide how that benefits San Antonio. So they're basically giving $75 million to the community, which could be used for other issues. They talked about childcare. There's other big issues. They can underwrite transportation costs, et cetera. So I think it shows the Spurs' commitment to San Antonio, and it's a 30-year agreement with a non-relocation. So that's committing the Spurs here for the next 30 years.
Okay. Is that a concern? Are we concerned the Spurs would move somewhere else?
I mean, I think there's a lot of talk and rumblings, right? I mean, the current sports world would say, look at Seattle, look at Oakland, look at other cities who've lost their teams, right? So I think this is a good way for San Antonio to come together behind the Spurs, improve, their fan experience, and come behind the one thing, Spurs unite us as a city.
Ed, what part of hearing you think about the benefits that it would do for Rodeo, the benefits it would do for the Spurs and for the community as a whole, was the one that resonated with the board of directors, that they decided, you know what, we think this is in our best interest to be a part of the support for this initiative and this tax, or voting for Prop A and for Prop B?
Yeah, I think mostly it comes from the economic development. There's going to be more commercial, more residential, and just the driving impact of a development like this, because arguably it's probably the largest San Antonio has ever seen. Right? So, doing a project like this means that San Antonio is developing in a way that's going to help our residents, our future homeowners, and our current homeowners, and people migrating to the city. It's going to expand our impact. It's going to bring in new businesses. So I think those were the things that were most concerning to the board. And,
you're making the point that all of that has to do with our housing market, right? Having a vibrant downtown where people want to hang out and where businesses want to thrive, that is absolutely vital to the success of more people wanting to move here.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. When you see cities with a robust downtown area that is walkable, that people want to come to, that businesses are coming and creating more jobs, you can see that the rest of the city also develops in that way as well.
And boots on the ground, I mean, do you know if your agents that you currently work with, are they still having people wanting to move to San Antonio, coming from other cities and saying, why should I move here?
Yes. Yeah. All the time. When we're speaking to agents and, they're talking to their referral partners throughout the states, it's just San Antonio is on the map. We're one of the most affordable cities in Texas out of the big cities here. We also are one of the most dynamic in a way that businesses can come and grow here. So yes, that's absolutely the case.
Martin, there are 2 propositions, A and B. And where in the ballot is this going to be? How do we want to make sure people understand they should vote for both A and B, right? Like I thought, oh, well, it's just going to be one proposition, right? Vote yes, we want to do this or not. But now it's actually two. And first one is for the rodeo?
Correct. Okay. Prop A is for the rodeo.
I went quiet because I was like, eh. And then the second one is for, Prop B is for?
The Spurs Arena.
Okay.
Yes.
And so how do we want to encourage them? Go ahead, Ed. I thought you were going to say.
I was going to say Prop B is also for the expansion of the convention center and hotel.
Correct. So it's kind of a combo of both, right? Like there's a lot of tools being used. I think the venue tax specifically is just to fund the arena, which is the anchor of the district. Mm-hmm. But there will be used hotel occupancy tax, et cetera, to fund the expansion of the convention center. So it's one piece of the puzzle that needs to happen. You can't have a sports entertainment district without a sports team down there, right? It's the anchor of it, and then everything else will come to fruition, and the fully plan will do.
Got it.
And this is one part of a couple of parts, and by that I'm simply saying is there will be another election with regards to the city and their own initiative. I don't want to completely delve into that, but I want to make sure that people understand, like, this isn't the one time, like it will come back again. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so basically we are taking the first step in this transformational project, right? Which is setting up the framework that the county, the city, and the Spurs have all come to agree on, and saying we are willing, as residents of Bexar County, because all residents in Bexar County, if you live in Alamo Heights, Terrell Hills, Castle Hills, Helotes, as long as you're Bexar County, you will be able to vote this November to say we are willing to spend a portion of our visitors tax to fund this new arena downtown in Prop B and Prop A to expand the rodeo in their current home. The other big question we get is infrastructure, right? I go downtown, there's traffic, there's construction. How are we going to make this happen? Great question. If this is successful, the city will take up a bond in May that will include amount of money to improve the infrastructure. That means redirecting exits off 281. They've been working with TxDOT, improving traffic flow, you name it, drainage, et cetera, because that area does need improvement. So infrastructure is a second part, but they wanted to ensure that the funding framework for the anchor of this development was going to happen. So you will have to come back in May to hopefully vote again to work on the other part of making all this successful.
What do you think are the important parts that we want our members and the community as a whole to take away from this? What do you think is the main confusing thing out there that people are hearing that is causing people to want to say no?
I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there, right? From whether you're using property tax dollars, whether the city had already approved it or the county approved it, whether the Spurs were thinking of leaving, the Frost Bank Center was just going to rot, right? It was going to become the Astrodome. All of those are false, right? I think this is a transformational project that the seventh largest city will undertake to basically do everything that we advocate for as an organization. Downtown revitalization, economic development, quality of life, all of this without using property tax or general fund revenue, which is huge. If you look around other cities who made deals with sports teams, the Spurs are committed $2 billion. That is a record and unheard of. And I think it shows the Spurs commitment. I think as a community, we need to realize that opportunity we have now as the stars align to ensure that we are moving the city forward for everything we want to do. And with this comes growing property tax values, a growing tax base, which we can use to solve affordable housing, homelessness, and do all the other things. Let's have more ands and not more ors in the city. Right. We can do this and this.
Love that.
Yeah, I like it too. And I you say that and I start to think, we've been investing in Hemisphere for a while now. Right. And more and more people go down there. I know if you go down there on the weekends, there's the kids park, there's the new restaurants, the Dia de los Muertos festival is awesome to go and attend there. This is just a continuation of that project. And I think the interesting part, if I understand correctly, is, there's a lot of empty space there now with the federal courthouse is going to be turned into its own venue. There's a huge plan there to do something that people will want to be attracted to go to downtown for.
Correct. That is it. Basically, right now, people go down there for Hemisphere, right? Which has come to life this past few years. Prior to that, it was not much going on. You see,
I didn't get to attend, but even the Final Four concerts, I heard they were amazing, and everyone loved the vibe, and it was just fun.
Yep, they even opened up their own the tailgate facility. It was the tailgate area right there in Hemisphere, which I believe was one of the only cities that was able to host that. So you saw that area come to life. And I think now with this part of, the hotel they're building, Hemisphere Park being done, the Spurs this morning just unveiled their public basketball court that Hemisphere was part of. I think it's showing it's coming to life. And if you imagine it walking down from Hemisphere to the Alamo Dome, There's a little bit of life that needs to be added to it. And I think this what this project does is takes land that's not being used and creates it into a area that residents and visitors will want to come to visit.
I think the other thing I've heard about is, this is going to increase my taxes. This is going to increase my taxes. And I think the board absolutely wanted to make sure and asked tons of questions to make sure that that wasn't going to be the case. Ed, would you agree that the board essentially wanted to make sure, because that was a concern for them as well, right? Being very much in tune with the community, they know that that's the one thing we had heard was going to happen.
Yeah, definitely, for homeowners, there's a concern there that this is going to raise property taxes. But, we're being assured that, this is not going to raise our property taxes here for this venue to happen.
And and also I think other people were saying, well, what's going to happen to the Frost Center? Now it's just going to become abandoned like the Astrodomes. And that's not the case either. There's a plan for that as well. All three organizations are working well. Martin, are there other examples where this happens at this scale, which is an independent company with two separate government entities coming together to come up with this plan?
I mean, not that I can think of it. I think it just shows the cooperation between the city, county, and Spurs working together for the better of the community. I think it's important that all three are on the same page, and it seems like we're moving in that right direction, having the non-binding term sheet, the Spurs committing, I believe it's $3 to $4 million of their money to the campaign, which shows their commitment to our city and our county. I think it shows that there is a vested interest in moving the community forward, and we're moving in the right direction. And I think you see the community rallying. The kickoff. I went to the kickoff. You had Monty Ginobili there. You have Sean Elliott. You have a lot of key former Spurs players. It shows that they're willing to get behind this, which says a lot, right? These athletes and former Spurs players don't have to come out and spend their time and commitment to the organization, but they said they love the city, they love the organization, and want to see it continue to thrive. So I think we have a great, which minimizes the risk for the city and taxpayers as this robust public-private partnership we have in front of us.
Now, the San Antonio Board of Realtors is an advocacy organization, and as an advocacy organization, we often get behind initiatives that we feel are important to the community and that we think will make the city that we live in a better place. We know that we are going to support this because of the request of the board of directors, that we're going to get behind encouraging our members and the community to vote for Prop A and Prop B. What will that look like, Martin? What should our members keep an eye out to show that we're being effective in promoting what we think is economic development and good for the city?
So it's also great timing because Texas Realtors will also be pushing, which we'll be pushing out as well, and we will add in this segment propositions, constitutional amendments on the ballot that are good for realtors, right? So there's 17 constitutional amendments on there. There are a few of them that we are getting behind, or Texas Realtors is getting behind. And then we're just going to ask you to go further down the ballot and vote yes for Prop A and B. So that's good, and we're asking you to vote yes for A and B and the constitutional amendments the Texas Realtors is supporting, which is great. The next part will be a campaign, right? To get out the vote, educating. I think there is a lot of myths and a lot of false information, so we got to go clear it up. The Spurs and Rodeo have committed to us that they are willing to go visit your brokerage with us and answer any questions they have, the tough questions, and come out and say why this is important. But it also includes educating, residents who are going to go out and vote, right? So you will see a launch. If we successfully secure funds from Texas Realtors Issue PAC, which you all, as you contribute to Tree PAC, a portion of that goes to basically mobilize behind issues, not candidates, that are important to us. So that is your investment in Tree PAC going to a good cause. So you will see campaigns, you could see op-eds, you could see videos, press conferences, and visits to your brokerage about what this is, why this matters, and why you need to go for Prop A and B.
The members, the board of directors are absolutely available because this is going to be a conversation, right? Right. It's an election, so there's fors and there's against, and we're happy to participate in that. And we can expect if somebody wants to have that conversation and have someone out there to contact you, contact the association.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Contact me, email Sal, contact somebody here at SABOR, and they will get in contact with me, and we will be there and work out a time to come to your brokerage and share pamphlets. We'll be having signs here, campaign signs, and literature about the facts if you're willing to come stop by as well.
Great. Now, Ed, last question for you. It is why SABOR's voice is so important and why SABOR's voice matters with regards to this initiative.
I think why SABOR's voice matters is basically realtors are advocates to protect private property rights, right? And the projects fund without new property taxes, right? So this is a project that we believe that is not going to be funded by new property taxes, and that matters to us, right? Realtors are key stakeholders in our community. We're out there, we're working, we increase the visibility of ourselves working in our community. So I think this approach shows that we are dedicated to the community as it grows.
Excellent. I want to thank you both for making yourselves available. We're just starting this process, so I assume we're going to be hearing a lot from everyone. And we look forward to our members on educating them on the questions that they have and letting you know why it is that the board of directors felt that this was a great initiative to support. So thank you for listening, and we look forward to your support in the future.